My recent episodes of Strike Force haven't been doing very well. What am I going to do? Oh wait, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a response video on an issue that most of my subscriber base will agree with me on, and that will catch their attention on.
Gender is something that is taught to us. It's not something that we are born with.
Perfect!
Gender is taught to us from the moment we are born. They give us, little hats, little blue or pink hats, little blankets.
Wait, I didn't know that doctors taught to you what sex you are based on what hat they give you at your birth. Please tell me more.
And a lot of people make it uncomfortable to talk about because some people are uncomfortable discussing why they are how they are. It's really hard to get that kind of self-awareness, but it affects everything that we do. So think about it. Pink for boys, blue for girls, right? Think about it.
Okay, I thought about it, and I'm thinking to myself, what the heck does pink hats and blue blankets have anything to do with there being more than two genders? Can you please get to the point?
Should it be the other way around? Blue for boys, pink for girls? Does that make more sense?
I really don't think it makes more or less sense if you have blue for boys and pink for girls, or have blue for girls and pink for boys, but then again, gender is not determined off of stereotypically associated colors, dude.
It really doesn't. And in fact, in the Women's Journal in the early 1900s, pink was a more decided and stronger color, is more suitable for the boy, while blue, which is more delicate and dainty, is prettier for the girl.
Ooh, take that! He just completely blew up your entire perspective on gender by... What? Wait a minute. What is this? Oh, I'm sorry. Our doctors have just informed us that they determine gender not based off of color, but off of freaking genitals!
These things change over time. Culture determines gender.
Wait, culture? I thought we were talking about science here. You're saying in the very title of your own video that science tells us that there are more than two genders, not culture.
And a 2010 study of transgender people said that they knew their gender identity by age 5.
Yeah, and I thought that I was a superhero when I was 5.
So to imply, as some do occasionally, that transgender is a new thing, it's not new.
What's that gotta do with there being more than two genders?
We're just slowly starting to understand it. Gender is put upon us.
Yes, by nature and biology, not by pink and blue hats and blankets.
And the fluidity of that gender is because we grow and we age and we change. So we have the biological gender, we've got gender identity.
In other words, feelings.
Which includes transgender. We've got gender roles.
Which is irrelevant right now and does not determine gender in the least bit.
Those are very important for a lot of different reasons, but they're also not important.
Wait, what was that he said a little bit earlier?
So we have the biological gender. They're also not important.
Biological gender is not important for determining gender, determining the science behind gender. How come am I getting the feeling that this guy's not being very scientific? Maybe that's just me.
Sexual orientation, which includes heterosexual, bisexual, homosexual, asexual, all of those are part of the fluidity of our gender.
No. Sexual preferences do not determine your gender any more than stereotypically associated colors do.
So let's break this down scientifically.
Finally!
While you're in the womb, every fetus is a female. They all start that way. The Y chromosome is added at the right time, which makes the body present as male. But even then, sometimes things don't develop properly.
Which becomes a birth defect.
Some animals are gynandromorphs, which is some cells are male and some cells are female. It sometimes will manifest as, say, a bird that's half one color and half another color.
We're still talking about gender here, right? We're not talking about interracial people.
Hyenas, also something from the animal world, their clitoris is sometimes called a proto-penis, again illustrating that these are homologous organs. The proto-penis on a hyena can actually get an erection, they can have sex with it. These are female hyenas, and they can even urinate through it.
From what I have read, the proto-penis, quote-unquote, is just basically an abnormally large clitoris. It can still emasculate and it still gives birth for the hyenas. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, well then chances are it's probably a duck. And so by extension I have to say the hyena with a proto-penis supposedly is still a female. It's still a vagina, just it's abnormally larger. It is not some third set of genitals, and by extension does not turn the hyena into some third gender.
So, to imply that sex or gender is fixed and always the same is wrong.
You haven't given me any reason to convince me otherwise.
We know that gender isn't tied to physicality.
Okay, so if gender isn't determined by, say, chromosomes and genitalia, well then what the heck is it determined by?
Because we've seen it in human populations.
Citation, please. Please provide us a source for all your science and information. I mean, this video was about science, right? Because so far I have heard you talk about nothing but about color preferences and gender roles.
Gender roles, which I mentioned earlier, are important because it...
Okay, this guy just blabbers on more about culture and subjects that don't even relate anything to science or biology. So whenever he rambles on more about culture, I'm just going to fast forward him because this is getting freaking inane.
The gender spectrum, as it was once called, was a spectrum from feminine to masculine.
Okay, I'm just going to skip over this part for you guys because he doesn't get to the hardline science of it again. Instead, he goes talking about attitudes, masculine and feminine, and I'm just thinking to myself, what does that have to do anything with biology and gender?
A more modern way of looking at this is a gender continuum. Because people will change over their lives, they'll identify with different things at different times.
And might I say right now that feelings, what you feel you identify with, does not determine your gender.
Some people may want a little more science than psychology.
Yeah, you think? Because psychology, what people think and feel is really not a good metric to go off of by as far as determining gender goes, because there's this little thing called gender dysphoria where people are confused with what gender they are, and gender dysphoria kind of falls under mental illness. I mean, for all you know, with people who have gender dysphoria, it could just be up in the head, and they don't need any physical help in that they get the transition, but they just need mental help, psychological help to help them get over it without actually having to get the transition.
They looked at gender in the brains of rats. They added an enzyme called estradiol, and that inhibited DNA methyltransferase, which is to say it changed their DNA just a little bit, or it inhibited a way that DNA naturally changes. This caused a change in the gender of these rats. Now, they didn't go interview them, they observed them. So physically, these rats were female, say the researchers, but in their reproductive behavior, they behaved as males.
What was that he said earlier?
Some people may want a little more science than psychology.
And now,
but in their reproductive behavior, they behaved as males.
we're back into psychology.
That's the closest we can get to observing a gender change in animals.
Yeah, changing from one binary gender, female, to another binary gender, male. This is still withholding within the binary. It has nothing to do with any third, fourth, or millionth gender. Alright, I am not going to go into further response with, quote, science, unquote, plus this video. I've said my piece as far as responding to it goes. But I want to expound a little bit. I just want to clarify that I do not think that transgenderism is completely invalid. Like, if you are transferring from female to male or from male to female, that is valid. You are not basically some freak of nature. You are not explicitly not male and not female, but some intersex complexity or whatever. I honestly don't know a whole lot about the subject. But what I want to do say here in clarification of this video is that there is not a third gender, there are not multiple genders, there is not a gender spectrum as he likes to push for, and many others as well, and gender is certainly not determined by feelings or culture or behavior or whatever else have you. It's determined by genitalia and biology, damn it.